Hello and welcome to the 2017 General Security Training. My name is Kristen Carter and I'm the school counselor at Hogg Middle School, and I will be providing this training for you. Please remember that this training does not take the place of reading the appropriate manuals. You will need to do so once your manual comes in. Here are the components of the 2017 Texas Assessment Program. We have the State of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness, or STAR, STAR Spanish, STAR Alternate 2, the Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment System, or TELPAS, and TAKS, which is exit level. We have test administration, calendar, and resources that we are going to look at. For 2016 and 2017, we have testing calendars, we have the TEA Student Assessment Calendar, and a calendar of events. TEA has posted their student assessment calendars to their website. The latest revisement was on September of 2016, and email notifications about revisions was sent to the district and ESC testing coordinators. The main calendar highlight was that the summer administration of STAR EOC and TAKS was moved to June 19th through the 23rd of 2017. This is the same week as the STAR grades 5 and 8 mathematics and reading retests. Report dates have shifted for this testing administration. The 2017 manuals for grades 3 through 5, grades 6 through 8, and the EOC have been posted online to TEA's website. They have not arrived to districts yet, but will arrive sometime in February. These manuals are to be kept for the entire year. Highlights of the 2017 Test Administrator Manuals include the following. Instructions are limited to test administrator duties. There's allowable test administrator procedures and materials to be included. Oaths of security and confidentiality that are applicable to all programs are included, and information about accommodations updated to include embedded supports, including text-to-speech, language and vocabulary supports, and content supports. Also, the number of test questions for STAR grades 3 through 8 assessments was reduced to meet House Bill 743 requirements. And TEA will collect data during the March and May primary grade 3 through 8 administrations. Basically, they are wanting to know if students in grades 3 through 5 take more than 2 hours to complete the test, and students in grades 6 through 8 that take more than 3 hours to complete the test. We will use the agency use field again to document time to test, and directions for marking time to test will be located in the Test Administrator Manual. Test administration directions will have an internal table of contents. Guide to Test Administration Directions contains general information about using the scripts all test administrators must read. It describes special considerations for English language learners and includes specific information about accommodations and oral administration that must be read by the test administrator prior to administration of the test. Use of tutorials is expected for students testing online. Online scripts are combined and condensed and revised to include directions for students receiving text-to-speech, content supports, and/or language and vocabulary supports. Additional manuals and resources for the Student Assessment Program are available through the TEA website. Looking at test security. Who needs it? Everyone. Anyone that could potentially come in contact with a state assessment. This general security training must be completed by February 13th of 2017 because that is when the TELPAS writing collection window opens. You will need to sign a confidentiality oath for your campus. Please contact your campus testing coordinator to find out when and where they would like for you to sign your oath once you have finished this general security training. The test administration manuals, procedures for maintaining the security and confidentiality of assessments are specified in the following guides. The Test Security Supplement, which will be posted to TEA's website soon, the District and Campus Coordinator Manual, and the Test Administrator Manuals. Highlights from the Test Security Supplement include references to STAR A and STAR L that have been removed since those are no longer tested, references to the names of shipping documents have been updated, and examples added to clarify information about removing or covering instructional displays. The text in red includes drafted language that is text to clarify information about those instructional displays. The text in red states, prior to the administration, walk through each testing location to verify that the environment is appropriate for testing and no instructional displays are visible. For example, process and cycle diagrams, definitions or examples of literary terms, test-taking strategies, how to write an essay, anchor charts, maps, word walls, timelines, posters identifying historical figures, etc. Testing irregularities are incidents resulting in a deviation from documented testing procedures are defined as testing irregularities. Testing irregularities are viewed by TEA as falling into one of two categories, serious or procedural. Serious irregularities constitute severe violations of test security or confidentiality, must be investigated by the district coordinator, must be reported to TEA as soon as the district coordinator is made aware of the situation, and can result in the individuals responsible being referred to the TEA Educator Certification and Standards Division for consideration of disciplinary action. A person who engages in conduct prohibited by the Test Security Supplement and in other test administration materials may be subject to the following penalties: placement of restrictions on the issuance, renewal, or holding of a Texas teacher certificate, issuance of an inscribed or non-inscribed reprimand, suspension of a Texas teacher certificate for a set term, or revocation or cancellation of a Texas teacher certificate. Serious irregularities can include conduct that constitutes a serious testing irregularity and may include, but is not limited to, the following: directly or indirectly assisting students with responses to test questions, such as providing, suggesting, or indicating a test question response, aiding or assisting an examinee with a response or an answer to a secure test question, identifying incorrect responses for examinees, tampering with student responses, such as changing or altering an examinee's response or answer to a secure test item, falsifying TELPAS holistic ratings or STAR alternate to student responses, viewing secure test content before, during, or after an assessment unless specifically authorized to do so, discussing or disclosing secure test content or student responses, scoring student tests either formally or informally, duplicating, recording, or electronically capturing confidential test content unless specifically authorized to do so, fraudulently exempting or preventing a student from participating in the administration of a required state assessment, receiving or providing unallowable assistance during the TELPAS collaboration activities, encouraging or assisting an individual to engage in the conduct described above or in any serious violation of test security and confidentiality, or failing to report to an appropriate authority that an individual engaged in any of the events listed above or in any other serious violation of security and confidentiality. Procedural irregularities reflect minor errors or deviations in testing procedures, do not represent severe breaches in security or confidentiality, do not require a call to TEA unless guidance is needed by the district, and do not require supporting documentation. Reporting serious testing irregularities requires the campus testing coordinator and the district district testing coordinator to investigate and report serious testing irregularities to TEA as soon as the district coordinator is made aware of the situation. They must conduct a prompt investigation, submit an online incident report, submit any other required information to student assessment within 10 working days. Looking at assessment and designated supports within the STAR program is next. Overview of major changes. STAR offers on paper and online in all grades and subjects. There is an addition of a new online-only accommodations, which include content supports, language and vocabulary supports, and writing on oral administration. There's new organization of the accommodations policies, including accessibility features, designated supports, and designated supports requiring TEA approval. There's also broader eligibility for many accommodations. STAR Online or paper versus STAR Online with embedded supports. These tests have the same selections and test questions, including field test questions, passing standards, assessed curriculum, test blueprints, progress measures, time limits, and accessibility features. Accessibility features were previously referred to as allowable test administration procedures and materials and can be found in the District and Campus Coordinator Manual and the Accommodations Resource webpage. They are available to any student who regularly benefits from the use of these procedures or materials during instruction. These include any things that may be provided to students based on their needs. Added this year was the bilingual dictionary with word-to-word translations but no definitions or examples for mathematics, science, and social studies assessments. A student may need to complete the test in a separate setting in order to eliminate distractions to other students and to ensure that the security and confidentiality of the test is maintained. Locally approved designated supports were previously referred to as Type 1 accommodations or linguistic accommodations. These include supports that may be available to students who meet eligibility criteria. Eligibility decisions are made by the appropriate team of people at the campus level based on the eligibility criteria and are documented in the appropriate paperwork. Each designated support policy document located in the Accommodations Resources webpage contains an eligibility criteria section and an authority for decision and required documentation section. Here are the locally approved designated supports. Anything with an asterisk beside it has eligibility that has changed from the last school year. Here are the difference between the oral administration of paper tests and online tests. The main difference comes between the paper test of STAR writing and English 1 and 2 writing and the online version of STAR writing and English 1 and 2 writing. With the online test for STAR writing and English 1 and 2 writing sections, revising passages, revising questions, and embedded supports can be read aloud by text-to-speech. Also, required reference materials and accommodations may be read aloud by the test administrator. With STAR and STAR Spanish writing and English 1 and 2 writing paper, only the required reference materials and accommodations may be read aloud by the test administrator. Content Support Accommodation Guidelines. Pop-ups isolate specific information in a question that corresponds to each answer choice. They isolate specific text or information in a selection that is referenced in the question or answer choices. They also isolate specific information in a graphic or list that is referenced in the question. Pop-ups define literary terms and apply an allowable supplemental aid, for example, a graphic organizer, place value chart, T-chart, graphic of scientific content, timeline, or map, to specific questions or answer choices. They also include the formula from the grade-specific or reference materials when the question specifies the measure or conversion to be performed. Pop-ups also direct student attention to parts of the grade-specific reference materials, provide clarifying information for a graphic organizer, political cartoon, or map, and provide a visual representation in the selection, question, answer choices, or in the writing prompt by adding graphics, photographs, or animations. Rollovers bullet or separate steps in a process, for example, a multi-step problem or sequence of events. Supplementary materials include blank Punnett squares for biology and writing checklists for writing English 1 and English 2 only. These are content support examples of pop-ups. These are additional pop-ups. Language and vocabulary support accommodation guidelines. Pop-ups define or clarify construct irrelevant words, phrases, and sentences using plain language, synonyms, definitions, examples, and consistent language, providing a visual representation in the selection, question, answer choices, or in the writing prompt by adding graphics, photographs, or animations. Rollovers reword complex questions or answer choices to condense text, reorganize and simplify historical excerpts, respecting the text-based academic vocabulary. Pre-reads offer text prior to the selection only for reading grades 3 through 8, writing 4 and 7, English 1, and English 2. Here are some examples of language and vocabulary supports. And another version of a rollover for language and vocabulary supports. Basic transcribing for grade 4 written composition. For any grade 4 student who is taking the STAR test writing online, the test administrator may transcribe, for example, type, the student's response to the written composition into the online test. The student does not have to be eligible for basic transcribing to receive this assistance, and it does not need to be documented in the assessment management system. The reason for this is because typing is not a required TEK at this grade level. Please note that this is not a requirement of the administration, and decisions regarding this provision must be based on an individual student need. The test administrator transcribing the student's response must do so in accordance with guidelines for basic transcribing found on TEA's Accommodations Resources webpage. Students in all other grades and subjects must meet eligibility requirements for basic transcribing if this accommodation is needed. Special notes regarding technology. Desktop and laptop computers may be used as a means for eligible students to access allowable assistive technology during state assessments. Internet capabilities must be physically blocked by such means as removing wireless cards, removing Ethernet cables, temporarily disabling building Wi-Fi infrastructure, or disabling internet access at server level by shutting down access to individual IP addresses for specific machines on network. Students are not permitted to access internet during testing. Also, electronic devices with internet or photographic capabilities are not allowed. Therefore, tablets, smartphones, or other similar devices may not be used during administration. Here are some exceptions to technology. Refer to the STAR calculator policy. Please note that the guidelines set forth in this policy about the use of a calculator application apply to the use of a calculator as a designated support. New for the 2017 administration, an eligible student may use a speech-to-text application on a tablet as an allowable type of basic transcribing or spelling assistant if he or she is routinely using this assistance in class. However, in order to maintain test security, the device must be set to kiosk mode, not able to access internet, and an individual administration is encouraged. A test administrator may be responsible for monitoring at one time no more than 5 students, each using a speech-to-text application. A test administrator must be able to monitor a student's use of the device at all times. Designated supports requiring TEA approval were previously referred to as Type 2 accommodations. These include supports that may be made available to students who have a TEA-approved accommodation request form. First, eligibility decisions are made by the appropriate team of people at the campus level based on the eligibility criteria, and then a request is sent to TEA for determination. Each designated support policy document located on the Accommodations Resources webpage contains an eligibility criteria section and an authority for decision and required documentation section. Here are designated supports requiring TEA approval. The accommodation request process. One request should be submitted for one student and include all of the designated supports needed for the test he or she is taking. Accommodation requests must be approved by TEA before a student can use the accommodation on a state assessment. Documentation and the appropriate paperwork should state pending TEA approval. Do not include confidential student information. The request will be deleted and you will be asked to resubmit. Examples of the confidential information include students' first and last name, social security numbers, pages from an IEP, or medical documents. Do include the request ID from previous years. The expiration date for all approved requests is December 31st of the year the request is approved. Recording accommodations on the answer document. More information is available in the District and Campus Coordinator Manual. Campus personnel must be trained in accurately recording accommodations on each student's answer document or in the assessment management system for online administrations. Record the accommodation that is documented and made available to a student, if the student did not use the accommodation during testing. The following accommodation bubbles may be available depending on the test and/or the mode of testing. GA for general accommodation, which now includes oral administration. LP for large print. XD for extra day. BR for Braille. CS for content support, and LV for language and vocabulary support. CS and LV will only be available on the online administration. Accommodations in an unexpected or emergency situation. When an unexpected or emergency situation, for example a broken arm or lost eyeglasses, occurs just prior to or on the day of the state assessment, it may or may not be necessary to contact TEA. After testing, document the accommodation used on the answer document or in the assessment management system. Step 1. No need to contact TEA. Make available accessibility features which are allowed for any student. Step 2. No need to contact TEA. Make available locally approved designated supports. Consideration should be given to accommodations that the student can independently use. Step 3, contact TEA. If the student's needs cannot be met with Step 1 or Step 2, contact a member of the accommodations task force. The district testing coordinator may need to submit an accommodation request form. Should an unexpected or emergency situation arise, the first person you should contact would be your campus testing coordinator. They can tell you where to go from there. Special paper request process. Because language and vocabulary supports and content supports are embedded accommodations presented in an online format, replicating these features in a paper version is not always possible. Technology-based accommodations enable most students to test online. However, in instances in which the use of an accommodation is not feasible or appropriate, or if the administration of an online test is inappropriate due to the student's particular disability, a special request may be made to TEA for approval to administer a paper test booklet. The paper administration request document will be updated soon and will be posted on TEA's District and Campus Coordinator Manual Resource webpage. We will begin accepting requests early in 2017. For students taking a Braille test who are eligible for language and vocabulary supports or content supports, contact TEA's Student Assessment Division to discuss student options. It is possible to order a paper version of the assessment for this particular situation. However, special instructions may apply. Proctor codes for signed online oral administrations. For students who are deaf or hard of hearing who are eligible for oral signed administration and language and vocabulary supports and/or content supports, these students will take the STAR online but are not able to access text-to-speech. A signed administration is allowed for those parts of the test that can be read aloud. Test administrators should be trained using the oral signed administration guidelines and also read the specific guidelines for signing test content, including the general instructions for administering state assessments to students who are deaf or hard of hearing document. Similar to the December 2016 administration, proctor codes will be available to district testing coordinators and assistants in the Texas Assessment Management System to download and distribute to test administrators, providing a signed administration of an online STAR test. Accommodations for STAR Alternate 2, TELPAS, and TAKS. Information about accommodations for students taking the following assessments can be found in the applicable manuals. Resources that are currently available for accessibility resources include Released Test, STAR Accommodations Update PowerPoint, Accommodation Policy Documents, and Supplemental Aids PowerPoints. These can all be found on the TexasAssessment.com website. Resources that will be posted to the Accommodation Resources webpage soon include the Educator Guide to Accessibility within the STAR program, updated oral administration guidelines, general instructions for administering large print state assessments, general instructions for administering state assessments to students who are deaf or hard of hearing, general instructions for administering Braille state assessments, font and point sizes, matrices for STAR, STAR Spanish, TELPAS, and TAKS, and transcribing griddable questions, training document, and student documents. You have reached the end of your general security training. Please sign and date your oath of confidentiality with your campus testing administrator. You will sign the oath of confidentiality either as a test administrator, as a non-certified personnel, or as a technology staff. Your county district code is 212905. Thank you for your time and attention.